just one day between us and Christmas. Happy holidays to all of you. I'm Ethan Tashobia. You're watching RwandaTV News from Rwanda's capital here in Kigali. Let's kick it off with the Christmas story. With Christmas just 2 days away, the National Police has reminded the general public that this year's festivities will not be celebrated as usual, but instead urging people to be cautious and maintain COVID-19 preventive measures. Jen Mutoni kicks off tonight's edition with this report.
As we get ready for Christmas, it's going to be a unique kind of celebration compared to the past years due to the COVID-19 preventive measures. According to the latest figures, the number of infected people continues to increase in Rwanda and across the world. Doctors are busy treating the COVID-19 patients and the rest of other patients. For the first time, students are going to celebrate Christmas in their schools and not with their families. Rwandan residents are getting ready to celebrate the holiday season, despite the fact that they won't get together with others as it has been done in the past years. They say though it's a sacrifice, it's for a cause they fully understand. We give thanks to God for protection. We need to stay careful by avoiding social gatherings, like parties mostly. We do understand why all this is necessary in order to prevent the spread of COVID-19 virus. Plus, we've been taught on how to. It's uncomfortable, but we need to persevere. These are tough times that require people to act accordingly. Before this pandemic, we used to celebrate the holidays with our families, but now it won't be the same because of the COVID-19 virus. The spokesperson of police CP John Bosco Kabera says the general public should keep adhering to the COVID-19 preventive measures in order to protect their lives and of others by avoiding social gatherings. He encourages people instead to use technology to communicate. Christmas and New Year's Eve will all be celebrated, but not in the same way as before coronavirus. It is of the people's interest to adhere to the rules, which are as follows. Indoor gatherings are prohibited. Concerts are prohibited as well. Instead, people should communicate through messages and calls without having to invite them over. Movements have increased during this season like before, as many people are shopping for the holidays, while others are moving up country. In the evening hours especially, there's so much traffic and high speed of drivers trying to beat 8 p.m. curfew. Car owners are urged to control their speed so as to avoid accidents. The head of traffic police, ACP Jared Maimana, says drivers should drive carefully, especially during this period, in order to avoid accidents. 90% of accidents are coming from motorcyclists and cyclists with their passengers. This means more focus is directed to them. We ask motorcyclists, cyclists and those on foot to be careful by first checking both ways before crossing the road in order to avoid accidents and protect their own lives. According to the statistics from the police, 30% of accidents resulted from careless driving, 21% from overspeeding, 17% from distraction of drivers, and 12% from collision of vehicles due to not offering passage to another. During the State of the Nation, His Excellency Paul Kagame reminded all citizens that Christmas and New Year will not be celebrated like before because of COVID-19 virus. He also requested all people to avoid social gatherings.
During Christmas and New Year's Eve, people like to gather with friends and family. So in this kind of period, it's easy for people to forget the times we are in or what we've been through and where we are heading. We would like to remind all people not to take COVID-19 for granted as they celebrate, continuing to wear face masks, practicing social distancing, washing hands, and also avoiding social gatherings.
The National Police say although accidents may increase during this season, measures have been taken to ensure they decrease. In 2019, the total accidents that took people's lives were 622, while in 2020, there were 567, which reflects a reduction of 53%, while the total of accidents with only casualties in 2019 were 800, whereas this year there were 600. Jane Mutoni, reporting for RTV.
Thank you, Jen, for that report. Now, moving on, Rwanda National Police has paraded 14 young women and men who recently celebrated one of their friends' birthday, contrary to COVID-19 prevention measures. The detainees were identified through pictures that were posted on their social media platforms while not at all practicing social distancing, goes against the set measures. Martina Abera has more.
It was on the evening of the 19th of December that a group of young ladies and men were pictured celebrating their friend's birthday. Due to their large number and the fact that they were all aware that what they were doing was prohibited, they instead decided to hold a silent disco party. They all admit to have violated COVID-19 safety regulations. We knew that it was not allowed. However, we encourage others to not go against the prevention measures of COVID-19 and avoid throwing or attending parties until it will be allowed. The realization that what they were doing was wrong is what caused them to choose to use this trick later on, which didn't work out for them. One of the people that were around, who is a journalist, is the one that posted these pictures. Whether they gave it to the police as well is still a mystery. However, I regret violating the measures, and I tell anyone who is planning holiday parties to leave it because they would be risking their lives. As a piece of advice to young people or anyone else in the country and abroad, COVID-19 is not a virus to play with because it kills or weakens people. Also, going for testing is not for everyone. It is not easy to get money right away, so there is a huge loss in the end. Rwanda National Police spokesperson CP John Bosco Kabera urges the general public to refrain from violating the COVID-19 prevention guidelines because the virus is still around and everyone can be easily affected. If you have done something contrary to the law, even if the offense is not noticed immediately but later recognized, the police will look for you and question you. We urge Rwandans to alert the police in case they see a group of people gathered around in some sort of celebration. The other thing is that celebrations should be postponed or done at home because in the times that we are in, that is the only way to go. The only thing we can do is to teach each other because COVID-19 is something that the whole world is struggling with. The recent cabinet meeting on December 14 resolved that social gatherings including meetings, weddings and various events, whether at home or elsewhere, are prohibited. Those that attended the party, despite being asked to undergo a COVID-19 test they paid for, each individual was also fined 25,000 francs, while the organizer of the event was fined 200,000 Rwandan francs. Martina Abera, RTV News.
Thank you, Martina, for that report. In other news, the plenary sitting of the Chamber of Deputies has adopted an amended law governing education in Rwanda. Under the new law, children with special needs and those in nursery schools will be allowed to study in boarding schools. We have this report. While the government policy restricts children in nursery and primary schools from being admitted in boarding schools, some parents and teachers explain why this policy is key in early childhood development.
They are too young and dependent on their parents for all the support in upbringing. Children need the attention of parents in their early development. It is difficult to get all the attention they need while boarding schools are there, which can affect their growth.
Kids
learn by observing, doing, imitating and repeating what people around them do or say. Babies mostly learn from their parents and teachers, which molds them into the kind of people they would become as adults. While debating on the law governing education in Rwanda, the plenary sitting of the Chamber of Deputies sent Article 50 of this draft law back into the Standing Committee on Education, Technology, Culture and Youth, citing that children with special needs should be given attention while examining this bill.
Honorable
Speaker, the Standing Committee did not take into account schools for children with special needs. Article 50 is silent on children with disabilities.
It is silent ku bana bafite ubumuga. Aba bana biga mu mashuri y'abihebeye Imana.
Children with special needs who attend nursery schools run by nuns spend most of their time at school and are visited by parents and relatives once in a while. Such young kids require specialized care, and that should be reflected in this law. After a lengthy deliberation, the plenary sitting of the Chamber of Deputies adopted the amended law governing education in Rwanda. While Education Minister Dr. Uwamaria Valentin commends that every child should be raised in a family setup, she also acknowledges that children with special needs deserve specialized care.
There is an exception for children living with disabilities who will need to study in boarding school because under this setup, such children do not get formal education but also specialized care which helps in their development, which is difficult for some parents. That is why we agreed to revise the specific article.
The new draft law governing education in Rwanda has 138 articles. This bill is aimed at, among other things, mainly to harmonize existing different education laws and resolve the problems of technical and vocational schools not yet governed by any law in Rwanda. In other news, the residents living near Nyungwe National Park and the districts of Nyaruguru and Nyamagabe in the southern province said that Nyungwe, since it was declared a national park in 2005, the government has always been concerned about the well-being of the people around this natural habitat by bringing them together in cooperatives for their economic development. Fiona Mbabazi has this report.
Nyungwe National Park includes natural forests spread over the area of 1,019 kilometers per square meter, larger than some countries across the world. It is in the southwest of Rwanda and touches 5 districts, including 3 in the western province and 2 in the southern province. It is home to more than 100 different species. Nyungwe was declared a national park in 2005 and has thus become a reserve where hunting, poaching, logging are prohibited. This happened around July or August. We would go to look for honey in the forest before and would light up a fire, all so that we could develop ourselves. Now that is a thing of the past. There were elephants and buffaloes there. We brought what we could so that we could poach them. Why did Nyungwe have to be declared a national park? Dr. Imanishimwe Ange explains more. The decision was perfect. Before Nyungwe became a reserve, there were lots of illegal activities, and this deteriorated it until it was reduced in size. 15 years after Nyungwe became a national park, those who lived around its environs testify that their lives have improved further. We have teamed up in cooperatives and the government has given us support, and we are now at a level that everyone can do something through cooperatives and also develop their lives. After seeing that there are many members, we also joined in. We set up our own cooperative in Kitabi. It is called Ubwiza bwa Nyungwe. So far, the 9 sectors of the southern province that border Nyungwe National Park have 891 inhabitants who lived around this forest and have come together to form 35 cooperatives. They say the well-being is now at their best after giving up the activities they were doing at the Nyungwe National Park. We wore dirty clothes and we would go in to look for honey and other things. Sometimes we'd go into the forest and find nothing, and sometimes we'd graze on herbs, just like animals. It was a problem. Many say the proper infrastructure in place and many developmental projects have supported the communities. According to RDB statistics, the Nyungwe Canopy Walk is the most visited. Biodiversity researcher Dr. Imanishimwe Ange says Nyungwe National Park has various species of animals and birds that people should visit. On the 7th of October, the Rwanda National Board signed with the South African company Africa Parks a 20-year agreement for the management of this national park. This company indicates that its priority is to make known the wonders that can be found in this park and to collaborate with the population. Nyungwe National Park cluster increased from 16,086 in 2018 to 17,863 in 2019, an increase of 11%. In 2019, the revenue from the parks was at $28.9 million, which is an equivalent of 29 billion Rwandan francs.
Thank you, Fiona, for that report. In other news, Airtel announces that to reach out to its customers and bring them closer to their services, Airtel Money has started expanding its customer service branches. This was during an official opening of some of the various branches and shops here in this capital city, Kigali. Innocent Mugabo has more of this report.
In Kigali City, 7 branches have been opened, finding more 8 that were already set up to offer various Airtel services, not forgetting the 30 smaller branches that will be set up for Airtel Money and other off-the-counter services. Kabanda Pacific is the head of the customer service. He explains more about this action.
Ngira ngo mu mazimisi murebana ni yamamaza turi mu gukora.
We want to bring our services closer to our customers in a full package. These will offer services like SIM swap, SIM activation, but especially Airtel Money. As you all know, most people used to only find these services in UTC or Nyabugogo, so this problem will be no more.
SIM swap ufite n'ikibazo cyo kugura SIM card ushobora kuyibona hano.
Airtel has 44 service centers nationwide. Increasing the number of small branches that provide Airtel Money services comes to increase capacity when it comes to Airtel Money so that every citizen can have access to the service. Kogimana Celestin deals in Airtel services. He emphasizes the importance of bringing these services closer.
Izi branches za Airtel Money zije mu gihe
we badly needed these services. One needed like the e-money service, and it required you to move to Nyabugogo. But now even if one comes with $1 million or 2, he need to withdraw or deposit. It will all be done here. The branches opened today include that of downtown, Zindiro, Masaka, Kisementi, Kagarama, Gasanze, Gatenga, Masoro, Usanza, Nyabisindu, Kabuga, Masaka Dubai World Port, Morambi, Bumbogo, Ndera, Nyabugogo, Birjogo, Gikomero, Miduha, Giporoso, Kichuchiro Center, Rusheshe, Zinia, and Gachinjiro, among others.
Right, we're done with our bulletin tonight, but I also wanted to bring you up to speed on what is happening in regards to COVID-19. Today, the country registered 87 new cases, no one recovered. According to reliable sources, there are many Rwandans, people who are in critical condition. So I want to urge you to enjoy responsibly as we enter festive holidays. On behalf of the entire news team, many thanks for tuning in to RwandaTV News. I'm RwandaTV. Until next time, bye for now.